My name's Richard Suggett and I run the Veg Grower Podcast. First started growing vegetables in my first garden when I was about 10 years old. I'm 36 now, so that's 26 years, quite a while. I would say in my late teenagers it was on and off for a while. It's only probably in my mid-20s when I finally really took it on. I much prefer homegrown vegetables over supermarkets because there's so many more different varieties that we can grow. A lot of the supermarket stuff is grown to sell and it's long stock life, long travel life, but it sacrifices a lot of the flavour. There's also the fact that I know what has gone on to my vegetables. I know there's no chemicals, there's no bad stuff really generally. It's just water and natural feed. Yes, seasonal vegetables are something that play into this quite a bit, and at the moment, even though we're in midsummer, I'm already looking at what I can grow over the winter. Christmas Day, I'll come down and I'll pick our Christmas dinner, and it's fresh that day. I haven't had to buy it in, it's just out the allotment. Running an allotment can be a lot of work. I've got 250 square metres, which is 10 rods, and I manage this on my own. Trying to fit it in around work and everything, it does eat up a lot of time. When I took on this allotment, I had a letter from the council saying they generally find 4 hours a week is what people have to dedicate to an allotment. I would probably say it's more than that, but I've got quite a weedy plot, so it does take a lot more work than a plot that's not so weedy. I also don't use weed killer, which if I used weed killer would probably solve half the problem out. All I would say is I use organic practices, so I don't use chemicals. I use homemade fertilisers or organic fertilisers. I use horse manure. I use homemade compost, all of which I know pretty much is fairly organic. I started podcasting in 2013. At the time there was only a couple of podcasts out there based around gardening, and they didn't focus so much on vegetables. And those podcasts were also from professionals sharing their hints and tips, which is fine. I just wanted something more related that I could follow. And that was kind of a bit like, again, if you look on YouTube, there's a lot of allotment diary type YouTubers. I wanted that in podcast form. I'm not the type that moan about something not being there and not doing anything about it, so I just made my own. And it snowballed from there. There's been a few podcasts over the years that have came and gone. Last year particularly it's built up, so I know there's a market there for it, and I got on quite early. My podcast is about what I do as opposed to telling people what to do. The reason I do that is I can only really comment on what I do and what works for me. Everybody's garden's different, be it different soils, different time allowances and different sunlight. So I just find, rather than telling people what they should do, just share what I do and people can choose what they want from that. I also have big issues with telling people what to do. So if we go back to the organic thing and telling everybody they should grow organic, as much as I believe in that, I don't like the preachy side of that. I much prefer to demonstrate being organic and how it works, and then let people decide for themselves. Well, over the next 6 months, I'm obviously going to be growing a lot of winter vegetables, and I'll be featuring that in quite a bit. I've also got plans that I want to complete some projects that have been waiting in the background, such as bordering off the beds. And I want to build a shed where we're stood at the moment that I can use as a kitchen shed sort of thing. Somewhere I can come and have a cup of coffee, sit down, invite people in to have a chat and join me for breakfast. The most rewarding side of running the podcast has been inspiring more people to take up gardening and take up podcasts. I've had a listener who got an allotment because he'd listened to my podcast and he had health issues, and it's turned his life around. There's also people like the lovely Julia and yourself who have decided to take up gardening through listening to my podcast, and for me that has been such a fantastic thing.